I joined Queensferry Lifeboat in 1973 because I started off as a crew member. I then became helmsman. I then became the honorary secretary, and then that changed to lifeboat operations manager, and then I'm chairman of the branch, and I'm still a deputy launching authority. We cover right up to Kincardine Bridge, and we go down as far as Portobello. We've got a 30 odd, nearly 40 mile stretch. We are actually the busiest inshore lifeboat station in Scotland for various reasons, but one of the main reasons is the fact of the growth in pleasure sailing. We have a marina that's got approximately 200 boats beside us. All the ports up and down the river here have got vessels, so there's a tremendous upsurge in actual boating, kayaking, diving, all water sports now take place here. So that is the main reason. When I joined, we were doing something like 20 calls a year. We are now doing 70 to 80 calls a year. One that sticks in my memory forever, I think it was 1981, and the fishery protection vessel, the Switha, ran aground in a force 8 gale down at the end of Inchkeith. So I picked a crew and we set off, and we could only get at half speed even going down past Hound Point. We got down beyond Inchcombe and we hit one wave that was about twice the length of the lifeboat, and we lost both engines. So we were left out in the middle of the Forth without anybody able to help us in a full gale. So what we did was we erected the space blankets, etc., over the back of the boat, and I sailed the boat from Inchcombe down to past Hound Point there, and eventually another boat towed us into Port Edgar. So I think that is the one that sticks in my memory the most of all. And the amusing side, down at Inchkeith, Tom Farmer had a lady who actually had a lot of animals on the island, and eventually we had to get them cleared, not us personally, but we went down to assist because 2 goats had decided that the students were rounding them up. They didn't want to go onto the vessel they had, so they jumped in the water, went onto rocks. So we actually rescued 2 goats off the rocks. So that's a one-off, really. I don't think many stations will have done that. Inchmickery is virtually a bird sanctuary, and the people are not supposed to land on Inchmickery because the bird sanctuary is really there. And also, if you have to go and try and get people off even Inchcombe at this end, at the west end, that's where all the birds nest there, and you get swooped on, etc., severely during the nesting season. So one has to be very careful when one is approaching some of these little inlets, etc. So that is the other side of it we see. That's the Seals Craig Inn, just as you come into Queensferry, and you see where the water comes right up to here. It's now an Italian restaurant. This is obviously people doing some sort of fishing just from a small boat out of the harbour. We don't see a great deal of fishing up here, although recently there are 2 or 3 boats now back doing lobsters and crabs. Before, a few years ago, the waters around here were not very great for that, but Grangemouth, etc., has tightened up all the regulations, and apparently the water here now is fairly pure. People still actually come to that beach there in the summertime. Believe it or not, but there is a very nice beach, the shell beds, just down past that corner you can see down there, and that is used quite a lot by people. So people still seem to use the area and the beaches as much as they used to do. I think having gone to sea initially and trained to go to sea, I don't think one ever loses that connection. So I think that is what really keeps me here. This shows you the original pier, somewhere in about the 1920s, I would think, and they used to all sell souvenirs, etc., from these places. We then come on to when the pier was being used as the ferry, and that's one of the vessels coming in. This actually is a photograph I took from the train In 1963, I think I took that, and that's showing the ferries with all the cars aboard. This is original Queen's Ferry, and this is the provost attire of the era, and this shows the High Street the one way, the High Street the other way. You can see sort of a bustling, thriving place it was. I came to Queen's Ferry in 1967, but Queen's Ferry was really a village when I first came here, and the shops were open in the High Street. There was a butcher, bakers, all the various greengrocers, and now of course most of these are closed and they're either coffee shops or restaurants or whatever. There has been a great change, but the High Street is still a very busy area, and Queen's Ferry still appears to be a thriving community.